How are you, folks? Welcome to the show. Thanks for joining me once again. If you're out on the road, make sure you're staying safe, staying alert. And if you're running, a lot of people have told me that they run and listen to the show. So that's good. Good to see you running. Good to see you sweating. Probably go a little bit faster, I'm sure. No, you shouldn't. You're going well. Keep it up. That's great. On the show today, we have Chris Manak. Chris is a dating coach. Chris teaches his clients not only how to approach and meet women and how to get more dates, but also how to become a happier, more confident and more attractive version of themselves. I enjoyed my chat with Chris. He gives an honest account of his profession and his services, and being in a happy, committed relationship. Knowing about single life isn't something that I think about regularly, but during my chat with Chris, obviously I was in that mindset, and I can see why it's hard. I can see why it's hard for the single blokes out there to, the single males to approach women. And ladies, I get it. You just want us, or the single ladies at least, you just want us to come and say hi. I get it. You just want us to come and say something. But us males are simple, dumb creatures, and we think about all the reasons why we are going to be embarrassed. We think of all the things that you're going to say to us to shut us down. That's what goes through our heads. And we don't know if you're interested or not. Even when you're giving off the signals, we still don't know. We are dumb creatures. So we do our best. And that is sometimes embarrassing or silly or any number of things. But ladies, it's important to know that that's not us all the time. So when a gentleman approaches you, please don't take that as who he is 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. That initial approach is just him in a ball of nerves and sweat and confusion. And if you want to brush him off, that's fine. Who am I to tell you who to talk to or not to talk to? All I'm suggesting, all I'm inviting you to do, ladies, is if you think he's moderately attractive and there's 1% of potential there, just give him 30 seconds of your time. Let him in some way relax, because we're not all cool, calm and collected. In fact, I don't know any male that is. Internally. Externally, we might look like we are sometimes. We might fake it. Some of us fake it better than others. But a lot of blokes just won't try for that fear of rejection. It's sad, I know, but that's just who we are. As I said, dumb creatures. Luckily, we have guys like Chris Manak out there to give us the right advice and to give us the right skills and strategies, or my single friends at least, all the single guys out there. We've got guys like Chris to help us out. And in my chat with Chris, he does share some good strategies and some good advice for all the single males. And hey, some of the single ladies out there. We live in the 21st century. Why can't the females come up to the guys? Of course they can. Or the ladies. The ladies can come up to the ladies. The men can come up to the men. You know what I mean? I'm just trying to be inclusive. I'm trying to include everyone. I don't want someone saying, Matt, you didn't say that gays can go and talk to gays. Of course they can. Can talk to whoever they want. You know what I mean? I'm a nice guy. Just don't tell anyone. So here he is. I'm looking forward to this one. Dating coach Chris Manak.
You're listening to Coffee Chats with Matt Collins. Drinks, coffees and chats with remarkable people. For more Coffee Chats interviews, make sure you subscribe to the Coffee Chats with Matt Collins podcast on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts.
How's your morning?
Yeah, man, pretty good. Just, the usual, woke up. No. Actually, I usually don't I usually don't wake up. It is always a good start when you wake up. Usually not up this early, but quite nice. Wandering around the city.
What time do you normally get up?
I'm a night owl, mate. So actually, usually not too much later than this. Maybe 9:30.
Whereabouts are you in Victoria? You in Melbourne itself, or?
Yeah, I'm in the city. Yeah.
You've been in the city long?
Yeah, I've lived here since I moved to Melbourne, which was about 10 years ago.
Where were you before that?
I was in France before that, but I'm actually from Newcastle.
From Newey?
Yeah, that's it.
Not you a Knights fan?
Nah, hate football.
Is
That's why I had to leave.
I think everyone in Newcastle hates football.
They like it up there.
They love it, don't they?
They generally think you're gay if you don't like football.
Yeah, exactly. Why did you move out of Newcastle?
I lived overseas for a while, and I just wanted, I love it. I'm actually going home tomorrow.
So your parents are still there?
Yeah, my family's still there. But just new start, big city, come down, run amok. I was actually only going to stay for a year, and it's been 10 years, so that backfired.
How old were you when you moved out of Newcastle?
What am I now? 37, so I would have been 24, I think, because I was in France for a couple of years as well.
So 24, out of Newcastle into Melbourne, into the city?
Yeah, well, I've lived in Melbourne 10 years, yeah.
Wow. Was that a big jump for a coastal Newcastle kid?
Well, yeah. I mean, I live in the city now, which is just, I still occasionally look around and just, it's enormous down here compared to Newcastle. So, bit of a lifestyle change. Like I said, I'm going home tomorrow, and when I do go home, I'm like, pretty chill out up here. So,
you won't know yourself.
Yeah, not much goes on up here.
Yeah. So, you're in Newcastle now?
No, going home tomorrow.
You go back tomorrow.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
You'll have to excuse me as well, man. I'm getting over a flu, so I'm going to be
flu?
coughing I'm getting over it, so I'm going to be coughing and spluttering and stuff. So.
No stress at all. All right, mate. Well, look, my chats are pretty casual. There won't be sort of any big formal hoopla or anything like that. You're okay if we just jump straight in?
Yeah, of course.
Fantastic. Well, I'll carry on from that then. So, why go to France?
Oh, I actually have a French language degree, so I worked for the French government in the education sector for a couple of years, and that was as exciting as it sounds.
Oh, that sounds very exciting. What was your role there?
I was the role doesn't really exist over here. It's basically to make sure English teachers are teaching correct English. So if you, like a lot of English teachers in France will translate French literally. So they'll say something like, we're going to make party, because that's how you say it in French. So it was my job to kind of just help out the students and the teachers to learn like a more natural...
We're going to a party or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. Like we're going to party, or French will say like, I have 20 years old, So it's like, no, we don't say that. It's like, I am 20 years old.
Uh-huh. So how could you police that right across the country?
No, I was only in my specific high school.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
So you would go into classrooms and say, or actually, it's not I have 20 years old, it's I am 20 years old.
Exactly. And sometimes the teachers as well, like the teachers would teach, they'd teach a lot of that as well because they didn't really know.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was kind of my job, just to kind of give them a more natural sense of English. So I did that for a couple of years as well.
In a sentence, tell me about French people.
Nice if you attempt to speak French.
Oh, okay. They're forgiving, are they?
Well, it depends as well. Like Paris is madness. Paris is crazy. I think it's also like one of the crime capitals of the world. It's crazy. But I was in the mountains, so incredibly different. I was in the mountains of 10,000 people. So
how old were you then, Chris?
24.
Okay, so still a kid.
Yeah. Yeah, so it was in the mountains, and also 10,000 people. Obviously, everyone knew the Australian guy. So, they were lovely. I'd be walking down the street, little old ladies that asked me for help in the supermarket and stuff. You'd never get that in Paris. So.
Wow.
Yeah,
I was in Vietnam last year, and a lot of Vietnamese people would want to sit down with you to practice their English.
Oh, really? Okay, yeah.
Did you find that in France people would want to practice their English with you?
I found girls came on dates a lot more with me because that was kind of an added bonus. So they're like, buy me a drink and I can practice my English. Right? So
really?
This was back when I had no idea, but I was still trying.
Yeah,
so.
Got it. Well, let's segue into that, right? So for those that don't know you, what's your profession?
Dating and lifestyle coach.
You're a dating and lifestyle coach?
Yep, for lack of better words.
So if we had 30 seconds in an elevator together, what does a dating and lifestyle coach actually do?
I take guys out and I make them approach women. I make them interact with women. And through that, they're going to meet women, but they're also going to grow and improve their self-esteem and their confidence. And you're really going to change who you are by doing this. So
there obviously is... the answer to my question is yes, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Is there a market for this?
Well, I've been booked out constantly for, 9 years or something now. So, yes.
Wow. What sort of guys are coming to you asking for advice?
Everyone from, you name the profession, I've coached it. And, it will go from... start of January, I've got a guy flying from the UK who's an 18-year-old student, and I've also coached 65-year-old multi-millionaire property moguls, so literally you name it, I've done it.
How do you help a 65-year-old on the dating scene? Because obviously, well, maybe not obviously, but he's not going to nightclubs surrounded by 20-year-olds, I'm assuming. Really?
When he's with me. No, well, see, the beauty of Melbourne is I'm never going to take him to a club. But what I am going to take him to is an after-work bar. I'm going to take him to, do you know what I mean? There's a lot of that in Melbourne. You'll go to a lot of these bars on Friday nights down in Melbourne, and there'll be everyone from 20-year-olds all the way through to people in their 50s, 60s,
Got it.
So there's a lot of that in Melbourne.
Got it.
But, I do a lot of day stuff as well. So he ended up dating some, Russian girl that he met on the street. So, well, Russian woman, I should say. I think she was like 35.
And he's 65.
More 65, yeah.
Wow. Let's go back a step. Let's go a page back. Why would a guy from Newcastle in his early 20s decide to set up this dating and lifestyle business?
Because I got good at it myself. I never actually wanted to coach. When I first moved to Melbourne, I was in the corporate world. And I just like this. I like going out on weekends and improving myself, talking to women, having some fun and adventures. And people were asking me for at least a year to coach before I coached. So
what, your mates and people close to you could see that you were good at this and ask for your advice?
Essentially, yeah.
What makes you good at it?
I don't really care that much. Like, I'm not someone to go and approach a girl, and if she doesn't like me, go and cry in a corner for the rest of the night. Like, I don't... doesn't bother me. You can like me, you can loathe me. I don't really mind. So I try and put that into my clients as well, Is
that a big part of it, Chris, not caring about the outcome?
You have to, because only like 1 in 4 girls is going to, even when you're good, 1 in 4 girls is going to respond well to you. So if you can't get through those numbers, like, don't get me wrong, this way is not for everyone. You can sit on Tinder and do that. You could go online and do that. That's fine. But to go out, once you learn how to approach, you're going to have way more opportunities, and not everyone's going to like you. So,
what, like you said, 1 out of 4. So therefore, there's 3 females that aren't showing any interest. What's the worst, for you personally, what's the worst situation you've had where a female has not shown any interest? I
had 2 situations come to mind. One girl yelled at me on the street. She said, "You've already approached me and you've approached my friend as well." I was like, "Oh, sorry about that. I don't remember you." She wasn't my greatest fan. Another girl punched me in the head.
She punched you?
she punched me in the head. Yeah.
Wow.
Not very nice.
Build that up. So how did that come about?
Well, I was in a bar with friends. I was actually not... So I was watching a client. So I was just leaning on the bar and a girl walked past, and I believe I said, down in front, we could say in the cinema, just as a joke, whatever, she walked past, and she turned and she spat her drink on me. So I walked away, actually. I was like, all right, psycho, and walked away.
She spat her drink on you?
Yeah, she did. But then she followed me and did it again. So I upended her drink on her head, and she punched me in the face.
So you need some pretext sometimes, don't you?
Yeah, didn't really like the gin and tonic in my eyes, to be honest.
Yeah,
I didn't even think about it. It was an instinctive reaction. I was like, if this girl got her drink, I'm going to wear a third spit in the eye. So, but look, that's two things that I can think of, and I would have approached 15,000 women,
15,000.
Well, yeah, probably. I've been doing this for 14 years myself, so. When you take the numbers into account, guys really think that a girl, I'm going to approach a girl and I'm going to bother her and all. One of the first things my clients generally say is I can't believe how friendly people are. Most part, women are going to be friendly. Even if they're not interested, they're just going to be, oh no, thanks for saying hi. I've got to get back to work or whatever. But they're nice and friendly and pleasant, so you don't really meet too many psychos out there.
When these guys come to you and ask for advice, are they... I'll go back a step. I chatted with a woman last night about depression of all things, and obviously that's in no way related to what we're talking about. But the point is that people come to her for advice on their anxiety and depression, and they want a result immediately.
Yep.
And obviously that's not the case. It's a long, drawn-out thing, and slowly... improvements will happen.
Exactly.
When these gentlemen are coming to you, do you have to explain to them that it's not an immediate thing, or is it an 100%. Immediate thing?
No, it's definitely not an immediate thing. And I try to market myself in that way, and also I meet up with a lot of clients before I coach them. I at the very least have a phone chat with them or an email conversation. So the first thing I ask a guy is what do you want out of this? And most guys that contact me are I just want to be better socially. Obviously, I want to meet some women because that's why I'm coming to you. But, I've not coached guys before because they're I want to sleep with models tonight. And it's you're in for a rude awakening, my friend. This is not going to end well for you. Because that doesn't help them and it doesn't help me either. So I really do stress to them, look, this is going to... even when I'm finished coaching them, all right, you need to go practice this now. They'll come out with me and just go, it looks easy when you've been doing it for over a decade, but it's not. It's really hard to go up and talk to someone that you don't know.
I bet. 10 years. Have you ever thought of doing something else? Is this something you see yourself doing for the rest of your life?
To some degree, yes, because I love it. I'll always coach in some fashion, but not to the degree that I am now. I've been out every Friday and Saturday night, essentially, for, more than a decade. So that's
your job, right?
It's my job.
Big part of it, yeah.
So I will keep doing this to some degree, but not at the rate that I do now. But even how much I coach now is nothing compared to what I did for the first few years of my business. I nearly killed myself. So
why? You had so many clients, or you're working so hard to get clients?
Yeah, it's just a new business, and you don't really know what you're doing. Like I said, I never intended to coach, so I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I was like, how do you do an invoice? How do you, So I had to figure out a lot of that, and it was just, you get into a flow, and now, I'm standard small business. People always say to me, why don't you franchise and go out and because it doesn't interest me. As long as I've got clients and as long as I'm paying the bills and and I don't have to worry about money, I'm good. I'm happy with that. I've tried to employ other coaches in the past, but it's very hard when you're a perfectionist nutcase like me. So,
well, that was going to be one of my questions, right? So, if you were if you got to a point, and I'm probably sure you have been at this point many times, but as you just said, you decided to just keep it as you, as the business. But if you were going to put someone on, what sort of traits, what sort of boxes would you like to tick off with that person?
Two things that I look for primarily is, one, you obviously have to have some ability. Like, you could be the nicest person on the planet, but if you can't actually approach and interact with women and show that you can do this yourself, that's not, I do a lot of demonstrations when I'm with clients, just to sort of show them and help them through it themselves. If you can't do that, you need to be able to do that, at least to some degree, and, then I can train you after that. But also, you just got to be a nice dude. Like, there are some women out there there are some guys out there that are great with women, but they're not nice people, or they're psychos, or they're weird. Do you know what I mean? Like, so I just look, are you a nice person that kind of has your life sorted out to some degree, and are you, can you do this to some degree yourself?
Have you ever said no to a potential client?
Oh, all the time.
Why?
Like I said before, they want something that I don't coach. Like, they want immediate fixes. Like, they don't want to, because this is a journey, It's like, I'm gonna get you pointed in the right direction. Don't get me wrong, you're going to learn some amazing stuff. I've had plenty of guys go home with a girl in a night, or spend the whole night chatting with, like, their second approach or something. It happens. But for the most part, I'm going to teach you some really cool stuff that then you have to implement it yourself. So that's what I look for first. And if a guy wants quick fixes, it's hard. Or if they're just, again, not nice people. Like, if a guy's, a bit of a nutcase or something. Well, I don't really want to help him go out and meet women and break hearts, So, if the guy's a bit of a knob, then I'm not going to really take him on. But.
Is there? I mean, I'm 38, so I haven't been in a nightclub for that I can remember, at least 10 years. Maybe more,
okay.
and it wasn't my scene when I was there, and maybe that's my story or whatever. But I didn't enjoy being in places that were extremely crowded. It wasn't for me. But I would always notice a type of guy that it was the place for them. They seemed to be full of energy. People would, be surrounded. That they would be surrounded by people a lot of the time, attractive women, and they just seemed to be, having a great time. Life was easy for them. Is there a particular guy where it is just a lot easier to attract women?
Well, yeah. I mean, you give me a 6 foot, attractive guy who dresses well, but just never had the confidence to approach. He's going to do better. I mean, that's kind of one of those things that a lot of people...
Is it just looks so, Chris?
No, definitely not. Because, you go out to a bar, you go out to any given bar, and just take a moment to look around. There's going to be, for the most guys there are going to be pretty attractive dudes, but they're not going to do anything. They're just going to stand around all night. The issue with really attractive guys, and, I've coached male models, more than one. I've coached male strippers as well. The issue is that a lot of guys think that their looks are enough, and women just don't work that way. It certainly helps if you're a confident guy, if you're a nice guy, and you come over and you make reasonably intelligent conversation, then your looks are going to play a big part. But, I've coached really attractive guys with attitude or with just dull personalities, and they really, really struggle. Because they're thinking that women think like they do when they don't, For a man, if a girl's hot, that, she's got a lot of leeway. That's kind of all that matters. But it's not, the roles aren't reversed for the most part, particularly with older guys, because younger girls, like early 20s, for them, looks is way more important. So, a girl that's had a couple drinks in a bar and she's out for a great night with the girls, yeah, she's going to hook up with the hot guy. 32-year-old girl, it's not enough.
Okay. You just mentioned attitude and a dull personality there. Are guys going into clubs and bars with attitude?
Yes, but for the most part, it's fake, because I think a lot of guys...
It's a brick wall, right? It's a safety net almost.
Exactly, yeah. You know, and you break through a lot of this and you'll find out that a lot of these guys are really soft, gentle, somewhat insecure guys, you know, but they'll put on this harsh front and they'll go out and like, hey, what's up? It's like, what are you doing? You know, but you don't think the girl sees straight through that. Yeah, so look, you do get some guys with attitude, and they're just like, oh, okay, I really want to be around you. But I mean, you get that in girls as well. You know, 1 in 20 girls that you go and talk to is just flat out going to be super rude. And it's probably the same for guys. You know, there's a small percentage of guys, and it's just like, I don't know what your parents did to you, but you didn't come out very well. Yeah, but for the most part, people are nice. People are friendly. People want to be nice. The only reason a lot of those guys are putting on attitude is because they think that's what's going to help them get girls.
They've seen too many Hollywood movies where the cool silent guy gets the chick.
Yeah, exactly. Or they've read pickup books or watched movies, and it's just like, you don't have to do that. But yeah.
When the Will Smith movie Hitch came out, were you doing this profession then?
Don't actually know. I don't know when that came out. I do know that when it's on TV, I have to put my phone on silent. But was that movie a good thing or a bad thing for you? Hated it. Well, I mean, it didn't really affect me, you know. But I think it might have been early that. I think it might have been like early 2000s. I personally didn't like the movie. I just think it was a very Hollywood interpretation of, the broken guy, cannot commit to a relationship. Shut up. Yeah.
What's the biggest misconception from that movie?
Okay, here it is. It's that if you do the right thing, you'll get the girl. So, these guys would pay this guy a certain amount of money or whatever, and then he would make it so that this girl would be interested in them. So much of this is compatibility, and if you're not compatible with someone, it doesn't really matter what you do. There's just going to be no attraction there, And we could go into the whole subconscious influences on that, but yeah, look, sometimes you'll do an approach and it'll be absolutely perfect, and the girl just won't like you, Sometimes you'll have an amazing 2-hour conversation on the street or in a supermarket or something, and the girl, you'll ask for a number and she'll just like, nah. It's like, what? Why? So some people just aren't compatible, so you can't, like, a lot of guys will say that to me as well. They'll approach a girl and, nothing will come of it, and I'm like, oh, what did I do wrong? Like, to be honest, that was a really good approach. That's just, you guys weren't compatible,
You've mentioned a couple of times now words like going in for the approach and, getting an outcome and stuff like that. It sounds very, and pardon me for saying, but it almost sounds like a battle. You're going in for the approach, and
100% is a battle, but the battle's not with the women. The battle's with yourself. Like the moment you're in a bar, you see a stunning girl, and you just you're making eye contact. You're looking at each other. Every guy that's normal is going to have his heart in his throat at that moment. So it's not so much a battle to like win the girl over. It's a battle of like, how the hell do I get myself to do this?
But if every guy in the club is thinking like that, or the bar, or the cafe, or whatever, like, I just feel for the girl.
Well, every guy's not. Every girl kind of hopes. Look, the reality is that girls aren't getting approached that much at all because men just don't know how to do it. And the other thing is the guys that are approaching, for the most part, are the, the drunk players, blah, 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 because they're the ones that have the confidence to approach. Like, people say to me, to find my job or whatever, and it's just, look, women want to meet nice guys. Nice guys don't approach. I'm the middleman. Do you know? I'm taking the nice guy out to a bar or to the park or to the library, and I'm getting him in to approach, and in a way that's not bothering the girl. That's not like harassing her. Like if I see a girl just standing on her own, ordering a drink at the bar, and there's a nice space next to her, my client's going to go in there and just ask what she's drinking. You know, like it's not like the way that I get men to approach is having a huge impact on their lives. It's just not, because if they get blown out, the first thing I teach my guy, well, one of the first things, is if a girl doesn't want to talk to you, walk away. Like, don't try and turn it around, just walk away. Because there's so many girls, the moment you say, hi, how are you? She's going to go, I'm really good, how are you? You know? So, yeah. I think if more men knew how to approach properly, I actually think that would be much better for women.
Is it fair to say that, and none of your clients obviously, but a lot of guys are approaching women and it's just sleazy? And it's justifiable then that women would scream in our faces and would pour drinks on over our heads and just have a negative feeling when guys approach.
Yes. However, I'm going to assume, excuse me if I'm wrong, I'm going to assume that you've not approached too many women. Like that's the general thought of how women will respond until you go out and start interacting with girls. And
well, here's the thing. Can I just say this, and then I'll give you the I'll give it back to you. I talk to lots of women, but I'm in a happy relationship, so I'm in no way in the back of my mind thinking, I hope I get a good response, I hope this goes somewhere. You know, I talk to a lot of women on air and because of the show and whatever else, and they're great conversations, and they're fully open, and last night I spoke to 2 hours with an attractive woman, you know, but in no way am I thinking I want an outcome from this.
Well, of course, you're on the radio, and that's also a very reciprocal situation. The girl's on the radio. You know, it's there's one thing. I mean, that's one thing, and that's awesome. It's another thing to be sitting in a cafe and like it happens a lot. Like the issue is men walk around with their heads down so much, whereas I find women are so much more intuitive than men, particularly when it comes to dating. So if men just kind of sort themselves out, look half reasonable, you're going to get a lot of looks from girls. They'll just look at you and smile in a cafe on the street. And it's almost like if you don't approach them after that, what does that mean?
But is that always an open invitation, though?
No, definitely not. Definitely not. Sometimes people are just friendly, and you have to learn to tell the difference between the two.
And that's hard, right? Because guys are dumb.
It is. It is.
We are. When it comes to this sort of stuff, as you've said, a lot of blokes just have no idea.
We have no idea, and that's not any reflection on men or their intelligence. We're just not taught this. Like, men turn 17 and they're just thrown into the world like, oh, yeah, have at it, son. You know?
Do your best.
Like, people will see a financial counselor. People will see, like, a personal trainer. But, like, oh, God forbid you don't know how to go and meet a girl.
Talk to the opposite sex, yeah.
Yeah, and look, I'm going to go a step further and say, like, if you meet one girl, what are the chances that is the most ideal girl for you? Like, at least if you learn how to go and talk to girls, you're going to end up dating the girl that you want to date. So that's beneficial to both you and her. There's going to be no smoldering resentment underneath, the surface, I guess. So, or it's just me being overly optimistic.
The old saying in a relationship, there's a reacher and there's a, someone that's going down a couple of levels so that the two people can meet.
Yeah. I've never heard it.
Is that a true? Does that really happen? Does someone drop a few levels to go, when they go out with someone else? I don't think you have to. I think a lot of people do, absolutely, but I don't think you have to. And I mean, it also depends on where you're at in life. So if a girl's in
her 20s and she's really attractive and she's out and she's meeting a lot of those, just those cool, charming, confident guys, but none of them are relationship material, and she meets a guy at 29 or 30 and goes, you know what, I'm ready for an actual relationship. Looks don't matter to me as much anymore. This guy's lovely and nice. Like, he might not be as physically attractive as these other guys, but he's stable, he's nice, he loves me. Like, I'm going there, I see that happen a lot. And, yeah.
Okay. I've got an issue. It's in the back of my head, and I want to share it with you.
Yeah, sure.
And I'd love your response. You're teaching these guys some fantastic skills, and I'd like to ask in a little while how that can relate into other areas of their world as well. But sure. You're giving them all these skills and talking to women and approaching women, and then at some point, I'm assuming that they start seeing someone and it turns into something, and now they have this solid relationship. Is it a fair thing to say that they're learning all these skills, but the outcome is they don't really need those skills anymore?
Well, I find that men generally want what they haven't had. So, and I never judge someone on what they want when they come to me. Again, as long as they're having some integrity about it. Like, if a guy comes to me and he's 40 and he got married at 21 and divorced at 38, he doesn't really want a relationship. He just wants to explore and meet, and there's nothing wrong with that at all. But if conversely, if a guy's in his mid-30s and never had a girlfriend, that's what he wants. But I also think that you're not just learning how to approach a girl, you're learning what attracts a girl, and I can't see how that's not helpful in a relationship as well.
And that ties into the next part of that question is, there's a lot of pluses in that in other areas as well. Knowing what women want in marketing and business is massive, right?
For sure. And like a lot of, I kind of have a running joke with one of my friends that probably 1 in 5 guys that does like my whole workshop, they just randomly quit their job, and that makes me as happy as when they actually meet a girl.
Why? Why are they quitting their job?
Because I think that, one guy put it best. I'm going to kind of paraphrase what he said, but it was something like, I didn't realize kind of how low I was until I'd experienced the highs out with you. So it's almost like a lot of people are living in somewhat of a dream state, and wake up, have your shower, have your coffee, go to work, come home, Netflix, wake up, have your coffee, have your shit, So when you're feeling emotions that you've not felt for potentially decades, that fear, that excitement, that adrenaline, suddenly you're going to work on Monday going, wait, how long have I hated this job for?
Why am I here?
Why am I here? What am I doing? God.
Wow.
Oh, that's what he said. It was something about comparing Saturday night to Monday morning or something like that, he said.
Do you see that? Do you see the moment when you're in that bar when that happens?
Oh, I love it. The moment that it could just kind of click, I absolutely love it. It's a guy will go through a week or two of like grueling approaches and rejections and it can be brutal out there. I've had guys have full blown meltdowns. I had a guy a couple of weeks ago actually who was from Queensland. Probably one of the nicest guys I've ever coached. Very attractive as well. You look at this guy and just like, what the hell, man? Like, this guy's like 6'5", super attractive. And we had to go and sit down and have a moment because I was like, I think this guy's going to have a bit of an anxiety attack, you know? And you would never look at this guy and, like, you look at this guy and go, God, and he's jacked as well. He's a bodybuilder. Well, not a bodybuilder, but a trainer. And we had to go and sit down and have a moment. I was like, just breathe. Just let it go,
Wow.
Yeah, it was. So I do love that moment. I love those little. If this was just about girls, I would have stopped doing this years ago. I'm 37, man. I'm old.
Well, I was going to ask you about that. So, at what point do you settle down? Like, do you still enjoy this single life and the approach, and talking to lots and lots of women?
Well, there's sort of single in quotations there because I have been seeing my girl for a couple of years.
Sorry, I assumed that. I apologise.
Oh, no, that's okay. I mean, I still am out doing this. But at what point do I stop? Stop going out to bars myself. That's probably going to be in the next couple of years. Stop coaching. That will never stop.
So you still go to bars by yourself, talking to women?
No, because I have not had a night to myself in a very long time.
Oh, really?
I'm out coaching every Friday and Saturday night. Although, I occasionally have, I was down the coast this weekend, which is lovely. I had the Friday and Saturday night off, and come Sunday night, I was like, oh, it's such a weird feeling.
Yeah. How does your partner feel about you doing this sort of work?
She's fine. She's lovely, she actually said to me, we laughed about this yesterday, actually. She was saying that she was actually relieved when she found out what I did because she thought I was a drug dealer because I wouldn't tell her what I did because yeah. Because she finally was like, look, dude, you're going to tell me what you do? So I just texted her my name, knowing that she'd Google it. And she was like, oh, okay, cool. Well, it's actually relieving. I thought you were a drug dealer.
Hang on a sec. Let's go back. That's really interesting. So you guys had just met.
Yep.
How did you meet? Did you?
A client approached her and she blew him out, and then we got chatting. And I was actually wanting more to give her, a little piece of my mind. But no, she turned
Why?
out to be
Why were you going to give her a piece of your mind?
Because she's blown out my client. Not whatever. Just me being protective of clients.
Yeah.
She was lovely, so we're still just hanging out like 2 years later. So,
what did the client think of that when you've gone in and taken his woman?
I don't think he really knew. Like, they all came over and we got chatting, and then, look, he's married now, so he doesn't care. I think he may have met a girl later that night who he ended up marrying. They ended up getting engaged.
Wow.
Or it was the week after. It was soon after that. So, just really lovely country guy, and, met a girl in the same venue, and, yeah, bam, done. I bumped into him not long ago, a couple of weeks ago in the city.
So you were chatting to your now partner, and then you gave her your first name and a phone number, I'm assuming. The next day,
yeah, we just swapped
numbers, yeah. She's contacted you and said, what do you do?
No. We actually chatted for a couple of weeks. I think we may have even started, sleeping together, whatever. And it was probably like a few weeks after that, though. And again, it's not because I have any shame around what I do. It's just if you knew if you know what I do without having met me, you're going to think it's questionable. But, I'm sure you meet me and you're like, oh, he seems like lovely and normal and nice, So I'd rather someone get to know me for who I am rather than what I do first, and that's still the case,
And she's okay with it now?
Yeah. Her friends hate me, but that's all right.
Why do her friends hate you?
Probably because, again, they don't really know me that well, and I'm an unusual character. I live life differently. I live life on my own kind of terms. I don't fall into the general social matrix. I don't wake up and just, I wake up and I kind of think, like, how I want to live this day. Not necessarily like, oh, I'm going to wake up and go to my work, go to my job because it's stable, and then, be nice to my boss who's otherwise whatever. And do you know what I mean? Like, it's just this front that so many people put onto the world, and
everything's okay when it's really not.
Everything's okay, and I don't even like.
Look at my Facebook post.
Look at my Facebook post. Look how exciting my weekend was, and like even this possession of other people. Like, I will love you if you do exactly what I want you to do. God forbid you look at another man or another woman, then that means you don't love me, and we're going to have a fight. Like, what the hell? Like, a lot of the times I look around socially and just go, what is this? What is going on? I don't understand,
Have you always been like that, Chris?
I've always been a bit weird. My mother would attest to that. But I think I just went through so when I was like 23, 24, I went through a breakup, and I just went looking for answers. Because I knew, I was just like, okay, I shouldn't feel like this after a breakup. I just kind of felt this kind of gaping hole, which in retrospect is probably quite normal. But this is an area that you enter on this path, and you don't expect it to branch off into so many other areas, and you start debating so many areas of your life and looking at certain areas of your life. And, like I said, I see that a lot in my clients. It just kind of wakes them up. And I don't think that's just what I teach. I think that's kind of any form of like personal development. I think it just kind of sends you hurtling down a path, and for the most part, it's fun and pleasant, but also you're going to go through some brutal times. You're going to have some introspective moments where you're just like, I don't even know who I am anymore. Like, why am I? I've had plenty of those nights. So I think it's more the journey that I went on rather than who I am innately.
Mm.
Yeah.
If you weren't doing, start again. If you weren't a dating coach, what would you be doing?
Having a mental breakdown. I've actually always joke and say like because I'm so tied in what I do. Like I love what I do, and I'm so tied in. I always joke and say the day that I can't coach anymore is I'm gonna have a little bit of an ego meltdown. But I would say I love online business, and that's so I'd probably be doing that. As nerdy as it sounds, I love building websites and all that sort of stuff. I just love that stuff. So I'd be doing that.
You mentioned before that the client of yours that you went out with, he ended up meeting a woman that night, and they got married, which is fantastic. And I'm sure that's a very rewarding part of the job for you. Do you often get invited to the weddings?
I've been invited. I think it's 2 or 3.
Okay.
I've been invited to, and I'm not a huge wedding fan. And a lot of the time, they're on a, speaking of which, a client is about to walk past me right now. Hey, man. How's it going? You're looking sharp. How weird is that? A client just walked past me on the street. Sorry, what was the question again?
It was about weddings. You get invited to weddings.
I've been invited to a couple, but, often they're on Saturday night, in which case I don't, I'm working and, yeah. So,
fair enough.
Hold on 1 second.
My dad wants to get in touch with you.
Oh, he does? Yeah. Cheers, man. Take it easy.
Speaking of that, like, how much of a part does discretion play in what you do?
Oh, a lot, definitely. I don't tell people what I do when I go out.
But if a lot of clients, if there was a client walk past you and he might be with family or his mother or something like that, he might not want to know that he's seeing a dating coach, right?
Yeah, some people it's kind of 50-50. Like, some people just, they don't mind. Like the guy that just walked past me then, he's like, oh, hey, by the way, like, I've got a friend that's going to give you a call. I was like, oh, God, that's awesome. But other guys, like, I've had it before, and I don't take this personally at all. Like, I've walked past clients on the street and they've been like with friends or with girls or whatever, and they'll look at me and their eyes will kind of like dart away, hoping that I didn't know. And again, I don't take it personally. It's just they don't want the worlds colliding. When I do coach guys, no one knows what they do. Maybe it's these security guards in bars that have known me from years of going there, but for the most part, no. Even when if I meet a girl, and I'm out and she's like, oh, what do you do? Like, I have to make up something because like, if I'm 37, I'm 6'2", I'm pale, and I have a shaved head, so I kind of stand out a little bit in the crowd. Now, if I'm with a shorter guy that's maybe, I don't know, ethnic or something, and we're in a younger venue or something, I can't say what I do because straight away she's going to look at the guy that I'm with and go, "You guys, okay, I see what's going on.
I see what's going on. This is a game.
I see what's going on. Why are you friends with a 23-year-old?"
Or a 65-year-old, or
or a 65-year-old. Yeah, that was interesting.
Tell me about that.
He was, without going into too much sort of
course,
personal stuff, but his partner of like 40 years had passed away, and after a decade of grieving, he was like, all right, I gotta, and this guy hasn't dated in 50 years,
forever.
So. He's just like, what the hell?
There was no Tinder around then.
Yeah. Well, what surprised me is with him, I took him out to the, like I said, these after work bars. I took him out to the standard places that I get guys to approach and interact. But I also set up Tinder for him. I set up an online, I think like an RSVP account or something like that with him. And I was amazed at how many women his age are on Tinder.
Wow.
Like, it blew my mind. I was like, man, women in their 50s are on Tinder. This is awesome.
A new market for you.
Yeah, well, my mum often asks me dating advice, which is interesting. Yeah, so.
Oh, truly? Is your mum single?
Well, my dad passed away 9 years ago.
9 years ago?
Yeah, 8 or 9 years ago. Yeah,
okay.
And so when she first, and it was me actually reopening her RS because like 2 years later, it's like, come on, mum, time to time to do something. You're not about to wither away and die. Like, let's open an RSVP account. She kept closing and I kept reopening it. And, so that was a fun little couple of years.
What advice do you give your mother on dating?
I think that I don't coach women, and this is the interesting thing for me. Because like a guy, I know what to do. I can grab a guy and like, look, dude, you just follow me. You're going to be fine. Girls, I'm like, oh god. I was just trying to explain to her to not try so hard on dates. Like she was going on a couple dates and saying like, what do I talk about and what do I wear and where do I sit and what? I was like, look, I don't think any of that stuff matters that much because probably the first 2 minutes of a date is going to determine probably 90% of the outcome of the date. You're going to sit down, you're going to see how attracted to each other you are, you're going to suss out each other's vibe, you're going to get that gut feeling and that, so thinking about what to talk about, I think is really not, you're kind of putting the carriage before the horse. So just trying to get it to calm down, basically.
How's your mum gone in that area? Has she had? She's seeing someone now? Or?
She's fine. She was dating someone. She's been dating someone for the last 3 years or so now.
Wow, nice guy.
Yeah, very lovely. Very similar to my dad, which is odd. Actually, probably not odd, but interesting.
Well, that's an interesting point, right? Like, do people have a type?
100%, and that's what I was going back to before, like the subliminal stuff. Like, I have my personal assessment of it is that you date someone who's familiar to you. So, like, let's put it this way: if a girl grew up in a crazy household with like an abusive dad or whatever, she's not going to like me because I'm just a nice, somewhat normal dude. She's going to be more attracted to the crazy guy because that's what she's subconsciously familiar to.
The bad boy.
Yeah, so that's what I mean before, going back to that movie. A girl is going to, for the most part, be attracted to someone that reminds her of her dad in some way, whether it be behavior or physical appearance or whatever. So if you're not that whatsoever, it's really going to land. And it goes both ways. Like, I'll have clients who will say to me, I want this type of girl, A, B, C, D, E, and then they'll end up dating F, Y, J, It's because that's what your subconscious wanted. You thought you wanted this, but you didn't,
You know what I really struggle with? We spoke about social media before, and you see the posts from women a lot of the time. That's in no way being sexist, but that's just the numbers of it. I see a lot of women will post something like this, and it goes along the lines of, yes, I'm single, and it will take a hell of a man to change that. And I think to myself, what are you bringing to the party?
Yeah, and also I see that as kind of classic Freudian overcompensation. It's like people walking around like, I don't care what you think of me. Like, really? Is that why you made such a big deal of it? Right. I don't need no man to be happy, really? Is that why you're spam posting it everywhere?
Yeah.
It's just nothing wrong. Why don't we just... It's like I say to my clients, there's nothing wrong with being terrified about approaching a girl or asking her for a fuck. Just don't give me crap. Don't like, oh no, she's not my type. I wasn't really feel. It's like, no, it's not helping you. It's not helping me. And I think the same can be said for those people, walking around with that attitude. Yeah, I think
we can justify, can't we? We justify so that we don't look bad, but internally, we might really want to approach that girl or.
Yeah, definitely. And I say this to my guys when they get talking to a girl who is rude to them, because it's like if a girl's out and a guy approaches her with like, "Hi, how's your night going?" and she explodes into this tirade of crap. Yeah. Like, is she a girl that's happy in her life? Like, that's so you need to take comfort in it. Like, it's not you. This is someone that just hates their life. So, you need to take that into consideration because for the most part, nice girls are going to be nice. They're going to be friendly. They might still blow you off because they don't want to talk to you, but they're going to be nice about it.
Mates, fantastic chatting to you today. Such a wealth of knowledge, and I think a lot of not just males but females that are listening to this will certainly get a lot out of it. I wonder what the actually I'll ask you if a single female in her 20s attractive girl is listening to this, has listened to this. What do you think?
Just look at my number.
How would she react to our chat today, do you think? Would she agree?
It would depend largely on her own upbringing and her own beliefs. Some girls are going to respond negatively to this because that's, there's a thing in psychology called projection, and that's, anyone that's kind of, well, how dare he, just Google projection, But for the most part, I would probably say 7 out of 10 girls are probably going to go, he makes a fair point. Because I'm not out teaching players. Like, a girl will never understand how hard it is to approach. Like, girls make friends with other girls so easily. But
what about the girls that do approach, though? Is it different for them?
I think it is. I went out many years ago. I went out with my then housemate, who was lovely, very attractive, and she'd come out to sessions with me, and she'd kind of get into it and she'd approach guys, and just seeing the faces of these guys, they just thought they were being punked because she's an attractive girl. They're kind of like looking around for a camera, or like, what are you selling? Is someone about to like
what are you
me?
After here?
What are you after? What do you want? And that's why, like, when guys complain to me, like, oh, dating's hard, I'm like, yeah, do you think of how much harder it is for women? Like, at least we can go out and we can try, according to social standards. A girl approaches a guy, like, have at it. I'm all for it. I get approached all the time. I think it's amazing. But you cannot deny that society deems that as weird behavior. And that's not my fault. That's just the social conditioning that we live in. So I'm all for girls approaching, but I think society needs to catch up on that. And I think men do somewhat have that going for them. We can go out, we can approach, and even if we get shut down a lot of the time, it's still considered like somewhat normal.
Got it. Chris, if there's someone that's listening to this and they want to find out more about your services or find out more about what you do, how the easiest way for them to do that?
Jump on my website, Manik Workshops, MANIC workshops.com, or most people just check out my YouTube channel. I've got a lot of videos on there where I'm just waffling rubbish. So you can put Chris Manak, MANAK, into YouTube, or follow me on Instagram or whatever, and just confirm that I'm not a nutcase. So yeah, you can kind of reach out in any of those ways. But even if you're not reaching out to me, like, my advice would be to both guys and girls, like, don't be that person that's like, I don't need no man. Like, don't be that person. Like, admit it to yourself and jump on YouTube, get Googling, learn. That's what I did 14 years ago, and it paid off really, really well. Like, you can't if something's not working for you, you need to get researching, you need to take some action, you need to sort of, change some stuff. Don't spend your days trying to convince yourself that you're A-okay when you're not.
Chris Manak, it's been a pleasure. Thanks for your time, and all the best for you and your partner too. I hope it stems into a beautiful long-term relationship.
God, she'd love you here. Well, she'd love to hear that. All right, thanks very much, man. Have a great day.
Good on you, Chris.
Coffee Chats with Matt Collins.
Chris Manak, there you go. What do you think? What a good chat. What an interesting chat. Not the type of conversation that you have every day, I'm sure. What do you think about the drink over the head? A good lesson. I'm glad I don't have to worry about that. It's also good to know there's guys like Chris out there. We have mentors and coaches for finances and for careers and for fitness and all these different things. But who's helping out the single guys that really just struggle to have a good conversation with the ladies? It's good to know there's guys like Chris out there. Check out his website. That's all the W's, manicworkshops.com. That's MANIC, manicworkshops.com. Thanks again for hanging out, folks. I invite you to have a look through all our chats. It's quite a library of conversations that we've had with some very interesting and remarkable people. And as always, I look forward to your suggestions of guests. I've been able to chat to some fantastic people, the types of conversations that I never ever thought I would have enjoyed or even had with people. And it's all because of those suggestions coming from you, the listeners. So, one, I'm extremely grateful, but two, keep them coming. If you're not already on the Facebook page, Coffee Chats with Matt Collins, can you head over and do that? You're missing out. We're solving the world's problems over there. You really are missing out. Make sure you go and check it out. Coffee Chats with Matt Collins on Facebook. Say something nice, even if you have to make it up. Thanks again, folks, for hanging out. It's been a joy. I look forward to your company again. Until then, stay happy and stay safe.